All right, everyone. So welcome back into another PGA DFS video. Going to be getting into the live stream here for the Shriners Children's Open. It's going to be one of those simple ones, I think. As always, going to be touching on fades, values, outright bets, and then ownership. And there is something I posted on Twitter as well. I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on this as well. This is something that you guys can go ahead and look at, but I put it on Twitter. It's Oh, look at me live on Twitter watching this as well. But scrolling down here, I want to know what your guys' thoughts on this are. I am thinking about adding on a tool to the 9 to 5 Sports, PGA DFS membership. Talking about ownership leverage. It'd be a ranking that anyone, that's a member can go back out and look at. So using examples, it'd be like Webb Simpson was a good example because his ownership is very high compared to how he's supposed to do this week. So sure, he's not a bad play, but in comparison to some of the other players around his price point range, you can get some nice ownership leverage on him. And that's a tool that I could develop further. Obviously, there'd be projected ownerships right next to them in that tool as well. I think that's something that could be very useful and something that, a lot of people could use to have some success. For example, like Cameron Tringale, Patrick Reed, Sanjay M. Those few players right there are players in which they kind of are decent ownership leverage options for you guys this week. And that's something that I'll be putting out there, I think, because I think it's going to be a good tool for people that want to use that type of tool. And I'll pull it up here on the big board, I guess, if you will. So this was the tweet that I put out there. It's just this was kind of the first step in making the tool, is just making the formulas for it and whatnot, gathering the data for it and whatnot, and then just kind of trying to see if it's something that I could apply. And I think it is. I think it's something that'd be useful, especially going forward, especially on some of those bigger weeks. So I think that's going to be a tool that I'll use going forward. But just kind of looking at this, I'm not saying that you'd want to fade Webb Simpson, but I am kind of saying like you would want to fade Webb Simpson. And same thing with Harris English and Scotty Scheffler. Just in comparison to the plays around them, you could get some nice ownership leverage on players that are either just as good, which is what this rank is factoring in there, and you can get some nice leverage on them. And I think that's going to be a nice tool to use. For example purposes as well, the difference between Charlie Hoffman and maybe like Russell Henley or Joaquin Niemann. If Charlie Hoffman's going to be a little bit more chalk and not have as much upside as like Niemann or Russell Henley, you'd much rather play one of those guys. So that's a thing. That's a tool that I think would be, very useful for people, eventually. And it does kind of kill me because looking at Webb Simpson, looking at Harris English, those guys, those are, my bread and butter plays pretty much each and every week. So they're a little bit priced up this week. And that's kind of why I'm going to be avoiding them for the most part, I guess, if you will. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those weeks where I'm going to be fading those guys, and I can pull them up here so you guys can see kind of what I'm looking at. So we'll start with Webb and more directly see kind of why I'm fading him. And the projected ownership, that is something that is live on the PGA lineup builder. It'll be live pretty much right after this live stream as well. So let me just pull him up here on the lineup builder as well, just so I can see his projected ownership as for right now. So yeah, Webb Simpson right around 25% owned is his projected ownership, which kind of crazy to me. 32nd player ranked in the 9 to 5 model this week. I think it's because he does have that strong course history. 4 straight top 20 finishes. But I've told you guys, this is a week in which there's a lot high variance. It's a very high variance week, so it wouldn't be shocking to see someone like Webb Simpson potentially go out and miss the cut. The Fortinet Championship, that wasn't exactly a great start. 30th place finish. That's not exactly great. BMW Championship, pretty good. Northern Trust, not exactly that good. I do love Webb Simpson as a play, but 25% on it's kind of crazy to me. There's some easy pivots that you guys could go with. And the issue with Webb is that he's been a slow starter. He really has. It's been like a sweat. It's been a cut sweat. Like each and every event has been a cut sweat with Webb Simpson. And eventually that's not going to go the way people would want it to go. And so that does worry me. And that's kind of, I don't want to, so like Harris English and Webb Simpson, like I feel bad fading them. Like we shouldn't be because they are such elite players, such like strong stroke gain approach players. But I don't want to fade. I don't want to fade English, to be honest with you. I mean, 18th at the Tour Championship, but 20 in the strokes gained total, so really not that good there. BMW Championship, an okay start there, I guess. So it's kind of been a while since we've seen some, spectacular starts there from Harris English, and that's kind of my worry with him this week. Any weather issues? No weather issues just yet. I saw, the weather's supposed to be like 14 mile per hour winds and whatnot, so not too worried about that. Theo's wondering feelings on Patrick Reed this week, and that's something I'll get into after Harris English. I mean, you guys can kind of see it with Harris English. I'm fine with him as a play. Just at both of their price points, you can find better plays. And so this week where, there's quality options on the top end, like, for example, Abraham Ancer is a guy that I haven't even ended up on a ton. And going back to this little tool, Abraham Ancer, 14th in leverage rank, ownership leverage rank. So you could go with him over Webb Simpson at the same price point. And he's ranking out as much better play. Top 8 in the model. Guys, 17 of his 26 starts last year were top 25 finishes. That's absolutely spectacular. He had an average finish of 29th in those made cuts. We just look at, a lot of people like to look at those green stats, and that's why I've included this in there. Average strokes gained putting over the past year, 44th. Average strokes gained putting on bank greens, 30th. So that's like a difference of a 14th rank. That's a 14-player difference in ranking. That's really good. In this green size, he typically does better as well. So, that's something that points to me that's pointing me to tell us that he should have a much better week. So, that's pretty much it, and then Harris English, I'll bring up Sungjae Im as an example as well. Sungjae Im, should be able to make the cuts. I mean, I'm not saying Harris English isn't going to, but Sungjae Im top 7 in the 9-to-5 model this week. He's just a typical cut maker. Missed 4 cuts last year over the past calendar year, I should say. Just looking at ownership, Harris English 13%, Sungjae Im 10%. So, nothing crazy there, but going back to that ownership leverage ranking, with Harris English, he ranks out 44th in there. With Sungjae Im, you could get some nice leverage on him because, one, he's projected to do better, and he's projected to be slightly lower owned as well. So that's something you could do there. Webb is so annoying. He'll have one blow-up round. It's not really a blow-up round even. Well, it kind of is. I wouldn't call it a blow-up round. It's just like he starts so slow. I'm telling you, he just needs his coffee in the morning. That's what it is, or his coffee before the round. It's one of the weirdest things with Webb. Because, yeah, if he does have that slow start on Friday or on Thursday, you're pretty much locking him into the showdown sites, and that's where I kind of love the showdown sites because they've been pretty good. But getting to Patrick Reed. So Theo's wondering, feelings on Patrick Reed. I am fine with him. In fact, once again, just going back to this tool that I was thinking about, putting out there for everyone. Patrick Reed actually ranks out as the second best ownership leverage play. And then once again, I'll just pull him up here on this page real quick. Where is he? Patrick Reed, 8% owned. Okay. He does rank out top 4 in the 9-to-5 model. Yeah. Take that with a grain of salt, I guess, if you will, because we don't have a lot of data on him for this tournament, per se, I guess, if you will. So I would say the problem with early season DFS is that some of the data is pulled in mostly for that season. Obviously, we're only 2 tournaments in. So, with Patrick Reed being the 4th rated player, I don't exactly agree with that. Okay. But I would say at his price point, 8.6, we should be making the cut. I'm perfectly fine with it. And I do get that as a leverage play. If that's something that you are going with for Patrick Reed as a leverage play, I definitely like that approach there for you guys. I do want to mention as well here the tournament write-ups. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting out more free content, which is just pretty much going to echo what I'm already saying in these videos. And then as always, the membership write-up is going to stay a membership write-up only for those members. But I'm going to pull up that Shriners Children's Betting article here, which is it's going to be a weekly thing that I'm going to do. But just looking at right now, outright bets, Willie Z. So Will Zatoris is going to be one of my favorite outright bets. I can just pull him up on the picture here. Top 5 rank play in the 9-to-5 model. 14 of his 23 starts last year were top 25 finishes. 6 of them were top 10 finishes. What I really like about him is that, he did have one bad round last week. This is the first round. And then he fired off that really nice low round for us And, well, I don't want to say that was expected, but we did have him on the showdown as I think it was the second best play that weekend. Guys, the showdown tool, if you guys are playing showdowns, you got to be using the 9 to 5 tool. I hate saying that. I hate, like, you have to be using the tools, but, like, the 9 to 5 showdown tools have been, like, just top notch. Last week, I think we had someone take down a GPP. I know there's a bunch of people in, like, 10th place and whatnot that were using the tools and using the videos and whatnot. A lot of people had success. That's the one separation point. So, that being said, Willie Z was a top showdown pick in round 2, I believe it was. Maybe round 3. But the point of that is he spoke after the round saying that, hey, I am highly motivated to play well after missing the FedEx Cup playoffs. And that really kind of stuck in my head because we get a highly motivated. I think that's like the biggest hurdle for players early on in the season is that they're not as motivated. They're kind of just going through the motions. So if we can get a motivated player at Willie Z's caliber, ooh, the sky's the limit. And he had a 5th place finish here last year. Okay. So top 20 stat fit, only top 25 in recent form rank, whatever, 4 straight make cuts in a row. Doesn't have as much upside as some of the other players, I guess. A lot of players have some good cut streaks going as well, but top 5 in the 9 to 5 model. I do really like that. What's our worry here with him? Well, just not that good of a putter overall. That's really it. But just looking at style course, TPC, average strokes gain total rank of 15th. We like to see that. So he takes advantage of TPC type courses. And then, event type, full tournament field event, average finish at 30th. We could look at the custom model and see how he does in, easy scoring events. He actually does well in those as well. So not too worried about him as a pick. James Hahn. I can pull up James Hahn. And no problem, Theo. Happy to help. Yeah, it's to the point with those showdown tools where I literally just take the projections that are in the showdown tool, maybe change some exposures, but I'm not changing any like data. I'm just plugging it in and getting close to taking down GPPs. It's been a fun ride there with those tools. But yeah, James Hahn. So James Hahn is kind of popping up for a few reasons. Top 5 finish here last year, 4 straight make cuts at this event. Great price point for him. We can see it too at the Fortnite Championship. 3rd in strokes gain approach. We love that. Okay, we love to see that. He was horrible putting. He had one of his worst putting weeks ever. And then we just look at bank greens. He does a little bit better on bank greens. Green speeds as well, about normal there. We look at average strokes gain total, course designer, better here, better at this length, better at this style, and event type, full tournament field events. It's pretty much the same. And then just looking at strokes gain tee to green, fairway length, all about the same. Rough length, he actually does better in this rough length, which is kind of crazy. Rough length is the amount of rough the course has. So pretty much, it's a general thing that I'm about to say, but pretty much the more acreage of rough that you have, which is what this is showing, the better he plays, probably because he can get away with driving it poorly, I guess. Rough height, that's just the height of the rough, about the same there, a little bit better there as well. So, the thing with him is that, let's look at this. 10 made cuts, 30% of those were top 10 finishes last year. So it's definitely a punt play, not a play that I would go crazy with. Only 5% ownership on him, maybe. But don't go crazy with that. I could see where you'd want to play him, and I don't mind that. But Infamous, you already kind of know this. I do like some other options that are down this low. We'll talk about some value plays here. Peter Malnati, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's a song like by Nicki Minaj or something, but whenever I say like Peter Malnati, I always think of like it's gonna feel weird to say, but hot banging body Peter Malnati. I don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure it's like one of those Nicki Minaj songs or I don't know, something like that. I'm really aging myself right now, but it's just every time I hear Peter Malnati's name, that's what I think of. And then he makes a putt. I'm like, stupid. I know. But he's made the cut in his last 3 starts, including 2 straight on this season. Once again, going back to it, a new season, players really hit the mental reset on that. A lot of players, and a lot of players that did poorly last year, they'll do that. Kind of seems like Peter Malnati did that. Doing well in strokes gain approach, 11th and 54th in those 2 events. a key stat that you need. We look at kind of what he did last year. Not a good year for him last year, but he has made 3 straight cuts at this tournament. And one thing I always like to look for is ascending finishes. Miscut. I mean, it's been ascending for the most part. So top 5 finish in 2021, miscut the previous year, 2018 32nd, and then 15th place finish there in 2019. So for the most part, ascending finishes there for Peter Malnati. Good price point, 3 straight make cuts in a row, 3 out of 4 make cuts here. Top 50 pick in the 9-5 model. You know, decent chance that he could make the cut at that price point. That's all you're really searching for. A player that a lot of people don't really like after last week is going to be Adam Schenk, but Adam Schenk really did exactly what he was supposed to do last week, which is give you a chance to get a made cut at a cheap price point. He actually ended up ranking 54th in strokes gained total that week. That's because he didn't play that week, and that tells you how many players were, you know, on the cut line that ended up making the cut, that ended up playing poorly throughout the weekend, with him actually ending up with better strokes gained total. But before that, you know, had been pretty solid as well. Missed a cut the Wyndham Championship, not really an event that you would attack him or use him with. But I want to point something out. The 3M Open, the John Deere Classic, even the Barbasol Championship, all tournaments that are easier scoring events, he played well at. You know, 4th and 15th place finish. We like to see that. 3 out of 4 make cuts here as well. Top 51 play in the 9-5 mile. Ranks out as someone that should make the cut. Peter is scary to roster. I get it. Peter's definitely scary to roster. And then last one here, Nate Lashley. How about Joaquin Niemann? And then Daniel's saying, don't mind Peter. You know, there's a bunch of decent. This week is tough in the sense that, you know, the high tier ranges are all pretty much good quality plays, and that's why that's kind of why I wanted to make this tool, and that's probably why I'm going to this ownership leverage tool, because I typically don't think you should worry about ownership too much. But this is a week in which I would kind of think about it because they are all kind of similar, especially in early season DFS. Like, there's no difference between Victor Hovland, Abraham Ancer, Webb Simpson, Will Zalatoris, and Louis Oosthuizen. I would say that's like its own tier. I don't really feel like paying up for Sam Burns or Brooks Koepka. If they win, they win. You know, whatever for me that week or this week. And then Scotty, Hideki, English, Sungjae Im, Kevin Na would have been, and then Siwoo Kim. Those guys are all kind of in their own tier as well. Why not just take the guy that's going to be lower owned that's just as good of a play? That's kind of, I'm doing that because it's early season DFS. As the season goes on and we know who the players are going to be that season, then we can say that, you know, ownership doesn't really matter too much as long as you are playing the right plays. You know, as long as you're making the right plays, it shouldn't matter too much. But going back to it, Nate Lashley real quick. 2 straight top 20 finishes. Pretty darn spectacular. And then a make cut at the Wyndham Championship. So we like to see that. 2 out of 3 make cuts here at this tournament. Does rank out as someone that probably will miss the cut. But I'm going to be banking on that recent form. I'm going to be banking on 2 straight make cuts at this tournament. And once again, they were ascending finishes. So, you know, we'll take that. But yeah, let's talk about Joaquin Niemann real quick. And then Daniel's wondering about Mark Hubbard. You know, Mark Hubbard, I'll pull up on a certain sheet. Actually, that's a tweet that I put out there as well. I'll pull him up there for you as well to explain kind of why Mark Hubbard's popping. And he is definitely a little bit mispriced. So getting into Joaquin Niemann. The issue with Joaquin Niemann this week is he hasn't had a good start in a long time. A long time. The WGC event, you know, kind of whatever, no cut events. Nice to see him play well there. The Open Championship, you know, you weren't exactly hoping that he would play well that tournament. Didn't really expect it. The Northern Trust. Now that was kind of a red flag. Still made the cut. 47th place finish. The BMW Championship. Another no-cut event. Had a really strong strokes gain approach week, which if he does that again this week, we're going to be seeing pretty, but no-cut event. Tour Championship. Finished 30th in strokes gain total. It's tough to know exactly where he was at mentally, you know, because he could have thought, you know, my game isn't exactly all there right now. I had a strong season. I let 2 events in a row slip away from me from winning on the 9-5 betting card that I should have won both weeks. Still bitter about that. But you just don't know where these guys are mentally when they're at the end of the season, kind of knowing that, you know, like Niemann, he kind of let the season slip through his hands. He could have had a much better season than he ended up having. So tough tough to know where they're at mentally, but 8 straight make cuts in a row, guys. You missed no cuts over the last calendar year. 11 top 25 finishes and 5 top 10 finishes. Average finish of 26 last year. That's pretty good. Ranks out third best in the 9 to 5 mile this week. It's a little bit skewed because of his great cut streak and just solid play overall last year. So I do like him as a play. He is someone that I wouldn't mind for an outright bet. Just kind of hoping that he puts it all together, but also I think he's going to be able to make the cut. At his price point, it's definitely appealing. At his price point, it's just not the wrong play this week, and that's kind of the issue with him as a play this week, is that at 8.3, you get Joaquin Niemann, a stellar cut maker, out of the event that he's finished 10th and 13th, 2 out of the 3 years. Didn't play poorly in 2020 where he missed the cut, 69th in strokes gained total. It's just the correct play. Unless you think he's going to break. He's doing the bend but don't break unless you think his form is going to break here. But 8.3, it is the correct play. All right, I'll get into Mark Hubbard. So Mark Hubbard's popping for Daniel, and I'll kind of show you guys why Mark Hubbard's popping for Daniel. And I think I put this out in a tweet as well. So we'll pull that up here. So this was strokes gained total on TPC courses over the past 2 years is what I did this for. And this was a tweet. This is something you can find on the 9 to 5 data cheat sheet as well. So just look at it. Average finish or average rank, stat rank, 38th in those key stats. So what I sorted this by was style course, TBC style course. And then what I did was birdie or better percentage rank, because that is going to be the most crucial stat this week. And then I did place, and that is strokes gained total. That really tells us all we need to know. So for Mark Hubbard, really good there. And I saw Matt Wallace is in there. That's just one event in there for Matt Wallace, so don't really worry about that too much. Once again, Joaquin Niemann popping up here as well. Someone that does play well in TPC style courses, and it's kind of broken up into a TPC style course because they kind of all play the same somewhat. Not really enough tree line to be considered like a parkland style course, and not really seaside where there's gusts of winds coming in. And a bunch of water hazards. Everything on a TPC style course is set up to challenge, but also provide scoring for tournament play for PGA Tour players. So that's why it's categorized as that. But 6.1 looks really good as a play there. Jim Herman also popping up there, but I'll get into Mark Hubbard a little bit more here as a play. And I do worry about Mark Hubbard because I think he was getting chalky. And once again, I'm going to update the projected ownerships right after this on that 9 to 5 cheat sheet. It is live on the 9 to 5 lineup optimizer, which is what I'm looking at real quick. 3.5% ownership right now for Mark Hubbard. I've been seeing it talked of a decent amount, which does worry me. I don't want to play a chalky value play, but top 34 pick in the 9 to 5 model at 6.1. That's really good. Missed cut and a made cut here for course history. 6 straight made cuts in a row. That is spectacular. That's where I'm like, what are we doing here, DraftKings? What are we doing here? And honestly, if he is only 3.5% owned, he's someone that I probably should get on more because 6 straight make cuts in a row, that's spectacular. And then we just look at it once again. TPC style courses plays well there. I do want to look at easy scoring, which is another tweet that I put out there. Let's just see if that's out there. If he was on there. So strokes gained total on easy style courses. I believe this was over the past 2 years as well. He wasn't on there. So he was on there, but TPC style courses, that does benefit him. So definitely interesting there. And then just getting back into the outright bets here real quick as well, before we kind of wrap this up, because we are running on about 30 minutes here. Maverick McNeely was a player that I wrote up. He does have those local ties, which I love to see. The thing that makes Maverick McNeely a questionable play this week is the fact that we don't know. It's early season DFS. It's all about where a golfer is at mentally, and you just don't know that. Maverick McNeely is coming off of a second place finish, an event in which he probably should have won. Typically, the rule is not to play someone after a victory. But a lot of the times, someone that gets second place looking for a PGA Tour win, their first PGA Tour win, that can really mentally affect them. Okay, we look at Roger Sloan, Troy Merritt. You could say Joaquin Niemann as well. Those guys where they're playing great golf. Had a couple of tournaments there where they have a good Sunday, they could win. Obviously, Troy Merritt, Joaquin Niemann, and Roger Sloan, I use those guys as examples because they all have second place finishes. Then they kind of had a lull in their golf game for a little bit. We'll find out a lot about Maverick McNeely here, but I think he makes for a great outright bet. Has been in some pretty strong recent form, top 10 in recent form rank. Like to see that. Does have that local ties narrative. I think he's a much better outright bet than he is DFS play. It's like one of those situations where if you're someone that does both, I would say choose one or the other, because you're not going to be mad if you have him in your DFS build and he gets a top 10 finish, and vice versa. If you have him as outright bet but not on your DFS card and he does poorly, you're not going to be too mad because you knew what you were trying to do there with Maverick McNeely. You're trying to get that upside with him to potentially go out and win. I like that. And then just kind of echoing that point, Cameron Tringale, guy was in second place heading into Sunday. Heading into the back nine, I think he was in 7th at the time. Choked on, I think it was 10 and 11, and his round was done. His tournament was done. He ended up finishing 11th. Now, he has played well on TPC-style courses, and he's played well on easy courses. He's in some of the best recent form out of anyone in the field, and especially at his odds, 35-1. Course history rank, he's played decently well at this tournament, top 20 finish, and a missed cut. He's a play where I wouldn't say he's checking all the boxes this week because, not enough starts here at this course over the last 4 years, but really strong play, really strong staff hit, really strong recent form. He's someone where, once again, I could see them put it all together to go out and win. And then Matthew Wolff. So I gave a lot. So Matthew Wolff last week, I touched on that a decent amount. I don't want to, dwell on this too much, but I wouldn't say Matthew Wolff was the correct play last week. It was kind of like Cameron Champ at the 3M Open. Cameron Champ at the 3M Open, he had displayed good golf prior to that event, and people liked him as a pick because he had shown that recent form. And when a player like him is showing some good recent form, they're going to regress back to their mean, which in Champ's situation is a good thing. We know Champ is a world-class player. When his game is on, he's elite. It kind of feels the same thing with Matthew Wolff this week at a tournament that he's really played well at as well, 2nd and 18th place finish, where, he hadn't been in good recent form coming into last week. And honestly, I think that's why he was a bad outright bet last week, because you just worry about that consistency factor. It's abnormal for a player that has been playing poorly for that long, for their first event back after 2 missed cuts, to go on and win. They're just not consistent enough in their golf game, and they probably need a little bit of mental reassurance that they can play that well, that they can hit that shot. So this week, after really just having one bad round, I do like Matthew Wolff as an outright bet at a tournament that he's played well at. Top 20 pick in the 95 mile this week, which last week he wasn't that high. So I do like that from Matthew Wolff this week. Wolff is getting talked up. Let's check his ownership then. Let's check his ownership. And I know on this screen, you guys can't see the ownership here, but I'll just tell you, 13.1. So yeah, that's getting talked up a decent amount. Let's go back to the ownership leverage thing again. So 23rd. So yeah, it would suggest that you should probably, go with Joaquin Niemann because a little bit safer. Was Joaquin Niemann not going to be high on? All right, I am definitely making that tool, guys, because I like it. I would love to just go to the 9-to-5 tool here, and this is what's going to happen. I'm going to put it like right here, ownership tab. And what we're going to have is projected ownership, probably projected cut %. And then I think we're going to include this leverage rank. I could make it a %, but I think ranks are just so much easier to read the information. It's just so much easier to follow to me, I think. So I think I'll go with rank. But, what we would do is we pull that up, we would see the difference in ownership, and I want to see Joaquin Niemann's ownership projection. 10. Okay, so not that big of a difference, but 3% at that price point, it's okay. It's definitely telling us, though, that you could definitely get some leverage in terms of projected cut likelihood, projected upside, and ownership. So, yeah, I would kind of say Niemann's the better play. Who's withdrawing to... Man. I actually have never been to Vegas. I'm guessing the Rhino is a casino, I'm guessing. I need to make a trip to Vegas. That's neither here nor there, but that needs to happen soon. How about some hard fades? I can give you guys some hard fades, and then I'll be getting out of here. But dude. So Infamous knows this. Really not half the weeks. I actually went out and calculated it. It was like 19 of the tournaments last week there was a significant withdrawal, and not even in terms of like my player pool, just in terms of like a top 30 pick in the model ranking withdrawing. That's a lot of the tournaments. That's almost like 25% of the tournaments last year. There was a significantly good player withdraw after lineup lock, is what I should say. So, really what it comes down to in PGA DFS and NFL DFS, a lot of it is avoiding injuries in NFL. And for some reason or not, it's ballet. Jesus. Oh, shoot. Okay. And in PGA DFS, for some reason, it's avoiding withdrawals after lock. It was brutal last year. And I know a lot of it was due to COVID and whatnot, but you need those points. You need those points for each round. Even if a guy misses the cut, you still need those like 40 to 20 points that he's going to get. That's huge. All right, but some bold fades here. I can get into that. That's pretty easy. So one of the easiest ways to find a bad play and a high price point tier is to do this. And then let's just do out of the top 25. Those are your bold call fades. I'm just kidding because I actually like a decent amount of these guys. So Sky Scheffler actually will be fading this one. 8 straight make cuts in a row. That is spectacular. But once again, it's kind of the same reason why I don't love some of the other players this week is that, those finishes weren't exactly all that good. The BMW Championship, 22nd place finish, no cut event. 22nd place finish at the Tour Championship, not exactly that good. Poor course history here at this tournament. Made cut, but he really sucked over the weekend. And then, missed cut, which he just missed the cut. It was kind of flip-flop there for him. Played well enough to probably do well at that tournament, just need to make the weekend. But at 9.7, I think we can find better options there. And then, I do like Webb as a play, but I am definitely going to be fading him this week. That's something that could come back to bite me in the butt, I guess. But I can't do it this week. Just too high of a price point for someone that has been close to missing the cut because he's went out and had some really slow starts. He could easily go on, top 10 again this week, and I'd be happy. I love Webb. Webb's probably my favorite player. Well, not my favorite player. Xander is, then probably English. But Webb's up there. He's top 5. But at this price point, I'd much rather play Victor Hovland, who much more likely of him making the cut. I'd much rather play Abraham Ancer. I'd much rather play Willie Z than I would Webb Simpson currently. Just how he's currently playing and how he's currently been going into those first rounds. And then that being said, let's just go back into it a little bit more. Brooks Koepka and Sam Burns. I'm going to be fading Sam Burns coming off the victory. Obviously, you just don't really like to target those players. And, not the best course history. 2 made cuts, best finish, top 20 finishes, and then 2 missed cuts. And then Brooks Koepka, you don't know what you're going to get from him. Heck, he could go out and win. It's just nothing that you can really lock in. Okay, so yeah, it feels like he could win. So sure, if you're fading him in DFS, maybe put an outright bet on him. But for the most part, I'm just going to be staying away from Brooks Koepka, Sam Burns, Webb Simpson, and Sky Scheffler. Those are my bold fades, if you will, just because, better, safer options in those price points. And then that being said, Hideki has sort of been struggling as well. I'm going to be fading him. He has a make cut and miss cut here. I'm fine with that. But, let's just one more thing real quick, and then I'm getting out of here. Let's just see those players that I just mentioned. Let's see how they rank in terms of TPC or easy style courses. I'm going to look at easy scoring events. How do those guys rank out there? So Hideki, Brooks. I know Webb ranks out well, which is another appeal to him, which does make me a little bit worried. English. Feels weird fading both English and Webb on the same week. It's probably wrong. I got Brooks in there. Sam Burns. And then Niemann. Not Niemann. Sky Scheffler. Oh, hey. If there's anyone still watching this too as well, either after the live stream or during the live stream, as a lot of you guys know, I just moved into a new home. I am looking to build an in-home gym because, man, the past year and a half, guys, it's been pretty brutal on my physical fitness, if you will. So yeah, I'm looking to get like a tower rack, for squatting, bench press. If it has attachments like lat pull down and curls or Any of those rows, sure, that's great. But what I really want is a rack that I can squat in that's not going to be flimsy, and then bench pressing, pretty well. And if anyone has any options, I would appreciate that. Do have 5% cash back on Discover and Walmart right now, or on Amazon and Walmart right now. So if you guys know of an option there, great. Just throwing that out there. It would be nice to know. All right, but let's look at these guys and just look at them in terms of easy scoring events, and then I'm going to be getting out of here. And then we'll just pull up the key stats that we want to focus on. Once again, birdie or better percentage. Let's just do average finish, which is place, and then strokes gained total. So Webb does play pretty well there. And then Brooks hasn't done well at those tournaments. Hideki, not too well in those. Harris, okay. And then Scotty, decent. Sam Burns, not bad, but once again, Sam Burns coming off of that victory. Let's just look over the past 700 days as well. Almost 2 years. Not too well for Hideki or Brooks there as well. Scotty's does get a little bit better. Webb still looking good. And then just let's look at TPC style courses as well. Oh, we have it here. It does help out Hideki a little bit. Brooks not so much. Brooks plays good in those hard scoring events. And they're not really typically TPC style courses. We'll just go back to scoring as well, just to see. So yeah, it does seem pretty evident that Brooks and Hideki should be the fades this week. So that's all I have for you guys this week. If you guys enjoyed it, please give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. As always, guys, let's have a good week. And then just know we got some NFL content coming out on Thursday. I already have the Core Plays video out for that. So if you guys want to check